We don't have a there's like a street lamp, not directly by our bedroom, but enough to have a kind of a ambient light
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes gets into the room. But then we try to patch out the eyes so that we're in complete darkness. That's the way that you get the melatonin and your melanin, and not just to get the energy going, but to make sure that you're recuperating, because you need to recuperate yourself in the darkness before you
Yeah.
come on the light. The light drains you a lot because the light is active.
Mm-hmm.
The moon energy is cold.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if you were to step into, say, if you're up in the mountains someplace, for example, or you're in a place where you know that there's no buildings and nothing messing with what the sky is showing you, you can actually step out of the shadows, for instance, and get into the moonlight, and you could feel the temperature shift. If you step in moonlight, it gets cooler.
Mm-hmm.
You can get into the shadow and you think that, well, I'm in the shadow, it should be warm, it should be colder. No, it's warmer in the shadow at night and cooler when you step out into moonlight,
Yeah.
you see. So you have these cathodes, I have these pyramids, and everything is all around me at this
Mm-hmm.
point.
Mm-hmm.
I have my shungite
Mm-hmm.
and all these little, frequency disruptors as much as I can,
Mm-hmm.
and my wife can.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I say to everybody, be prepared, because it's going to come down the wire. And I would suggest to you, um, get into some gold. I was going to say to brothers and sisters, I think the last thing I was talking to you about was to get into glint, GLINT.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with that?
That's the what they affiliated with gold. They sell bullions or something.
Yeah, they sell bullions, but they sell them by the grams as well.
Uh-huh.
And um, once you put it in there, you can actually load up from your bank and buy the gold. The gold is being bought from Switzerland and backed by, I think it's the gold is insured by Lloyd's of London. And this, just to give you an idea, is the glint card.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it's essentially about gold. Right there, they showed you the chip. It's a debit card, but this is the card that you can use to just buy gold and spend gold.
Mm.
In fact, I spend gold. Um, when you buy the gold, as gold appreciates, say you get $1,000 in gold, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you get it for that much, and then you switch over the from the fiat into gold.
Mm-hmm.
You look at it maybe 2 days, 3 days. There's no longer $1,000 in gold. There's $1,300 in gold.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wow, as gold appreciates, the money you put in there appreciates with it. The
Mm-hmm.
fiat you put there to serve it, because you're spending gold. You own grams of gold,
Mm-hmm.
you see. And I would suggest that as a means for you to hedge against the inflation. We're going up to what? A deflation. This 30%, 35 now,
It's it,
40%.
it's crazy,
It's going to
man.
hit 60.
Yeah.
And people are going to, you see gas is going to be $10 a gallon. You watch.
Wow.
So what
Do,
you're going to do is you have to hedge. You definitely have to hedge and stay with that XRP and XLM.
mm-hmm.
Stay with those two. That's the king and the queen. And you all are young. You all are
Mm-hmm.
going to get there by 2025. That's going to be, it's going to subsume Bitcoin.
Mm.
Bitcoin is going out under, and so is Ethereum.
Yeah, you think Ethereum's gonna go under? Wow.
Ethereum uses gas, and they're trying to do 2.0 to catch up. Everybody's trying to catch up with what XRP's technology is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look around the world and you do your reconnoitering of the business, you will see that all of the banks, which are the ones, this is the scum that has been ruining us.
Mm-hmm.
All of the banks are actually putting us up on that blockchain, which is the new chain for your ankles and your head. But
Mm-hmm.
now you're dealing with what is known as a compelled benefit. If you say, well, why are you getting in there? It's them and them. Well, how are you going to feed your family?
Mm-hmm.
It's called a compelled benefit. It's not something you want to do, it's something you have to do in order to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is you hedge your bets. You put, and right now I think the XRP is like 39 cents, 41 cents. Start building up on it. Get $100, put 100. You would buy, instead of buying them Jordans or going out to the movies and stuff, put some, start feathering that nest.
No, for real.
We're gonna be talking all about that. I'm gonna be talking about showing you how.
Let me ask you this. I was just talking to a brother yesterday, and we were talking, and I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. Somebody was telling me how the black birth rate, and it could be a lie, I don't know, but they said the birth rate is down a little bit,
A
and
little bit,
Hispanic, oh, more than a little bit, right?
little
Hispanics,
bit enough.
Hispanics birth rates is up. I guess
Right.
it's so scary out here. I guess we're scared to have babies. Does that make sense, or is this the time to have a
No,
baby?
you gotta no, see. You gotta look at it this way, my beloved brother.
Mm-hmm.
Black women today are at war with black men.
Mm-hmm.
Very few of them have not bought into that. The women who are coming from out of Mexico and coming from different countries, the Latinas and Latinos, they're coming from a culture based on family.
Yes. Yes.
They haven't lost that. We have.
Mm-hmm.
Today, black women have been following their icons. When they're listening to Cardi B as their icon, what do you think? And when the mothers are listening to Cardi B, what do you think? And then when the boys are being raised by women who are hating on the fathers because the fathers ain't there, you're watching men today who are saying, we didn't. I mean, you have to look at the fact that the society at large, the ones who are the social engineers, engineered this particular dystopian relationship between the black man and the black woman. Just imagine, I mean, this guy, Kevin Samuels, I mean, I was doing the Wounded Womb, saying the same thing he did 30 years ago. Comes along a brother who is, whatever it is what he called it was, he's trying to tell the world, here's what the deal is. And this is what brothers have not been able to come together to talk about. Now they're celebrating that he's gone, that he's dead. And those are the black women that are leading other young black women. And there's this kind of bitterness that women, young women today, not all, but the ones that get into prominence, they have this bitterness about being equal and being a woman, but not being a man. Everything they're doing is to imitate the masculine modality. They come off as masculine, and then when they put off the men, and the men don't want to have to deal with them, they get on these tic tacs or TikToks and stuff, and they start complaining. Where are all the good men? Where all the men do? Why are they ghosting me or something like that? Why are they ghosting you? Because they don't want to have the trouble anymore. Women have become a liability. That's a liability men did not mind having. We wanted to build families. We wanted to do those things that would, we get a pat on the back and that's all we need. Men are very simple creatures. I don't have to tell you that. Women are complicated. And now those who are manipulating us know that the feminine principle, the feminine instinct is complicated. She's based on her emotions. So all you have to do is to chart a course based on her emotions rather than logic, reasoning, and intellect. Take that away from the education system, take that away from the human dynamic, and the leadership no longer is there because men are born leaders, or they're supposed to be born leaders. They have an instinct to lead just by their nature. But you
Mhm.
must undermine that instinct. You must show those who are in the popular eye, you must show our men in skirts.
Mhm.
You must show our men dressed up. You must show RuPaul as the fierce one. Gay is now being adopted by the women. Most people don't understand the way that they're making up their faces with these gigantic eyebrows that look like highways across the top of their eyebrows.
Mhm.
Those are the transvestites that used to dress that way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So there's nothing new that women are actually introducing us with makeup. The best makeup artists are men. The best cooks are men. The best everything are men. And they've made women angry and jealous at that fact. Men cannot assert masculinity anymore. So men do not want to have the responsibility. And if the sex is just there because you're independent, and that between 18 and 25, you can just go ahead and bed any man you want. My father told me if you're going to ask a girl how many men she slept with, times that by 4 or 5. If you're going to ask a man, subtract by 10.
Mm,
Because men lie more, women lie better.
mm.
So, I mean, we're watching all of the worst parts of ourselves that would have been suppressed by cultural upbringing, by the proper form of education, by what your duties and your look at the way that I mean, when you want to rule a country and want that country to go to war and right, where do they send you first to the military? What does the military do? It brings you back to being a man. And when they tried to make the women part of the military, they found out that the women couldn't carry the packs. They dehydrated faster. Why? Because their lungs are smaller. Their muscles are thinner and denser. Their bones are not as dense. So you expect them to be soldiers like you? When you start doing that kind of nonsense, somebody in our government, along with the Illuminati, connected to them, and along with the Vatican, are making sure that everything that stabilizes society, from the masculine and the feminine principle that came together to bring balance to a community and therefore to the entire nation, they got to destroy that. And that's what you're watching, the slow erosion of the glue that kept a society together.
Man. Down Doc's webinar this Sunday, starting at 3 o'clock. Let me put the link in the chat room for everybody. For those who, what happened? Those who want the link. So I just posted the link in the chat once again. And on the screen, you can see the flyer, Ontology and the Metaphysical Awakening of the Melanated Mind. Wow. So the last question I asked for those, we got over 3,000 people in here. I want everybody to hit the like button. Um, Make sure you support this brother and his webinar, what he got going on. Give me a couple of questions before we get out of here, family. Give me hold up, let me see somebody because I know.
Oh, and again, by the way, remember if you are having a problem uh, getting on there, because I've had people calling me and telling me they having problems in PayPal. Just make sure you send your request to my private email, SUNNU 777 at Gmail,
Mm,
SUNNU 777 at gmail.com. Make sure that in the subject box you put all capital letters webinar.
mm. Let me ask. I know the sisters got some questions from based on what you just said. A sister said, asking, what about single mothers raising a son? Women who are actually trying and can understand, and overstand.
That is again part of the collateral damage of the war against our people and against this particular society. I empathize with you, beloved, and there are places where you can take your son so that he is not um, castigated, shamed for being a boy. Boys take longer to develop. That's sometimes a frustration with a lot of young women, young mothers. Boys take a longer period to develop and become stronger, which is why it's so necessary to train them in the right direction, because we have a single purpose, and that is to provide and to protect. We have a time when we are young, and we have that energy into manhood energy, because that's boy energy. Boy energy is inquisitive. It's constantly active. It's constantly questioning. It constantly wants to dominate. And if you're a single mother, you're going to find out your son one day is going to try to treat you in a certain way, like, why aren't you following me? Leave me alone. I'm doing this. And there's a time when the mother might get belligerent because it reminds her of the man that she had that child with, who was probably doing the same thing. Women don't understand the angst with men. We have been told we have to understand women. Women do not take the time to understand what men want. They're too busy being the ones receiving everything from men. They get into the habit of being the ones that are entitled to the attention, to the resources, to whatever. So they never study what a man wants. The women who are successful study men. My mother told me that my grandmother on her side used to have man management Sunday after church,
Hmm.
because she had 15 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
All the girls, yeah, I have a huge family.
Hmm.
All the girls were then brought over, young, going from small to would go over with their mother, and they would have ways to be this, how to cook, how to clean, how to be and talk and so forth. I watched my grandmother when I was down there on my father's side. When my grandfather would come in, because he ran a plantation of coconuts, when he came in one time, he was pissed for some reason, angry. And I was scared, because I mean, that's that, you're a little boy, you got that yang energy going off.
Hmm.
He didn't do anything, to damage anything. He just had the yelling and screaming and banging doors. And then I looked up at my grandmother, and I was scared, and she just did this. And all she did was not say anything. All she did was keep preparing, made sure that everything was in place. And all she did was sit at the table, and I sat across from my sister and myself. We sat across from the table. And when he sat down, after he sat down and saw the meal, so everything was in order, his whole energy just changed. I watched it. I saw it. I saw the power of the woman changing energy right in front of me. And that's why when I wrote that book, The Wounded Womb,
Hmm.
I went to the elders, the elder grandmothers, and the ones who was my godmother. My godmother was Amy Bell Olatunji, the master drummer Olatunji's wife.
Hmm. Hmm.
His wife was my godmother. These are the women that I went to talk to when I wrote that book. What was missing? What was it that women are not doing? And what is it that the society did to women? I don't put the blame completely on women. I put the blame on who it was that manipulated this society in such a way that we were taken completely out of a mold, an archetypal mold of relationship between us and our women. And we just allowed that to happen as men. Because when we stop this, when we're really willing to die for something and really ready to live for something, the women will come. They'll come back. They'll have to. They'll have no choice. Because right now they don't have a choice.
Hmm.
Period.
Hmm. Let's get another question. What about the benefits? Hmm. Somebody's asking, what are the benefits of transiting sexual energy and how to do so?
You're looking for a master class. You can't get that in one little answer here, my brother. I understand what you're talking about. You're talking about the tantra, how you can transition sexual energy into cerebral energy, into consciousness energy, into opening up that first eye. That comes from training breath, especially. I would tell you to look into tantric yoga, and look into Raja yoga. That's the one. That's the one dealing with the mind. Raja, Raja yoga,
Mhm.
and tantric yoga. Those are excellent. Oh, also Pranic yoga.
Mm.
Pranic yoga is dealing with the breath and everything about sexuality, especially maintaining, the standing rod for sex, is all in the breath.
The brother Wayne Chandler was just talking about that. I did a workshop with him last weekend. He literally just said the same thing. Literally.
Yeah, I used to teach tantric yoga and tantric sex in classes back when in the day consciousness. The genetic consciousness is the lesson plan that you've chosen to do while you're occupying an avatar in third density. Your DNA is saying what your lesson plan would be physically, psychologically, spiritually, intellectually, and so forth. You are your ancestors because you're just nothing more than energy. But we do have certain familial energy streams. So there's a consciousness time stream that, based upon what you did to preoccupy your mind and your actions in this life, streams you into a consciousness stream that matches. And sometimes that consciousness stream is so potent, so powerful, that the choice for the body you wish to come through sometimes takes on the timetable thousands of years. I did a cerebral reading, a cerebral astrological reading. No, sidereal. I'm sorry, a sidereal uh, psychological astrological reading back around 19. I think it was 85, 86.
Mhm.
And this brother was awesome. And he did a sidereal reading on me, and he found out that the last incarnation at that time for me was something like 132,000 years. And I
Mm.
didn't know what that meant at the time
Mm.
until I began to study more of the occult and to do my readings. And I found out that there's certain consciousness that circles, and this is why they want to put the computer to interrupt those social consciousness streams. The genetic consciousness streams are the ones that you leave the physical body, go back to, and then get into the non time space in order to come back into time. So when you leave, you go back in and you enrich the genetic time stream that you are functioning in
Mm.
based upon your experiences. And then that particular experience then either is a choice based upon you. Again, your actions here create the compelling energy to bring you back. If you have no reason to come back, there would not be the lust to take another body, only the choice to do so. The longer you take to come back, it means that you do not have any cravings that the physical body engendered upon your soul that makes you want to come back to fulfill them. So your thinking process has a lot to do with codifying the addictions to the flesh. How addicted you are to your emotions, to circumstances where you need to have revenge, that you need to conquer to make money, and so forth. All of these are the traps that bring you back constantly into the flesh, into the suffering of the flesh. This is what Buddha was talking about.
Mhm.
So you are your ancestors. You are part of the consciousness stream and the genetic time stream that you chose to be with your consciousness, and you share their consciousness. And you are independent once you become part of the avatar that you've chosen. You have to choose the vessel that you come through. There's no accidents.
Mhm.
You choose the vessels that come through between the joining of the sperm and the egg. That becomes a specific doorway. I told everybody that there was a nuclear explosion and a portal that opens up in the egg of the woman. She becomes the stargate. You're the one that activates that stargate. And then whatever compels you to that particular moment was a signature that brought you to that space to occupy that womb and to resurrect the Osarian energy. There was a story about Osar not just dying by being cut to pieces by Set, but him drowning. And what did that mean? Well, Osar is the representation of resurrection. Well, the symbol of Osar drowning was you entering into the womb and into the solution, the fluid that women that you are born in. And of course, when you are in the flesh, the spirit dies. That's the symbol of the crucifix of Jesus Christ. It simply means that when the spirit and the soul descends into third density, it dies on the plane of matter. That's what that crucifix of Jesus means. So, yes, you are conscious, but you return to a consciousness time stream. There's an individuality first before you release yourself. You hover upon your body, you look upon yourself, and if you crave or you have any feelings of empathy, which you normally would, because it's almost like a residual signal that you have as you're transiting out of the body. You have residual signals that are connected to your cerebral signals of electromagnetism that were the conduits of thought. Electricity is the conduit of thought in your brain. So these are the things that you disengage from as you're leaving the body. And it's very difficult. Sometimes you feel empathetic for the people that are around you when you are dying or when you're leaving your body. But then you linger. That's why I saw my grandmother. She and I had a very close relationship, and I saw her when she passed. She came and visited me. I mean, it was like, and at my age, I wasn't going to dispute it that she was there.
Mhm.
And maybe in this time, when you grow older and you think you know everything and you just get scared of everything that is strange, it
Mhm.
was like, oh my God. But as a child, children love animals. They play with things, cats especially, see spirits.
Mm. Indeed, indeed, Doc. Let's get to what that was a thorough answer. Whoever asked that question, I know you satisfied. That was a thorough. This Sunday, the webinar is going down. Let me share the link in the chat room again for y'all, for those who are interested. Also, the phone number's in the description. If you're having problems with the link, you could hit up the phone number, and the phone number, right? They just call the number.
Yeah, they can call the number or they can directly hit me at my private email,
Okay.
sanu777 at gmail.
All right. This next question, Doc, is: does the creator have a name?
No, it does not. Once you name it, you limit it. Where would
Mm,
the name come from? The name would come from you. It would channel through you. You are a temporal vessel. So there's no way you could encompass the creators to have it named. For you to even glean that the creator has a name means that you, being a child of the creator, think that you could limit your father and your mother to what you are, though you are a limitation of them. But you cannot limit them. They can limit you. And that's what you are, a limitation of them, a feedback mechanism. But you could never know its name because your brain and your body to encompass that energy, no. The Creator's name is whatever you feel and whatever you open your heart to hear because it resonates. Remember, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
mhm,
And if that's the case, then the Word resonates continuously because all is waves. And so, if there's a sound wave, that frequency that your particular machinery can pick up, your particular organic and nerve complex can pick up, then you name that name because that's the name privately for you. If you name it Jesus, it don't belong to you. That name belongs to somebody else who wants to control you. Same with Allah and Jehovah and all of those names. God didn't name anybody, name them. He says, I will reveal my name to you. And what did they tell you that God said his name is? I am that I am. That's it. I am that I am. I ain't Jesus. I'm not Allah. I'm not Jehovah because I am limited by those names. You may think that those names makes me everything. No, it doesn't. It just makes me a construct of your own limited thinking.
Mm. Doc, I remember real quick before we get to the last question, when I was real young, and my mother, she grew up. I grew up a Christian, but she was heavily into the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So she would always play speeches in the household. But I remember her teaching me how to pray and telling me about Jesus and everything. And then when I went to myself to pray, the only thing is looking back at it is interesting because you can look at how innocent you were as a child.
Yes.
My prayer every night was, "Dear God, I love my mommy. I want to die when she dies." That's all.
I
All I do was that.
love
I
it.
don't know none of this, but whenever she leave, I'm ready to leave.
I
You
hear
know what I'm
you.
saying? So
I hear you.
every day
See,
I just be like, I would have died with my. I love my mommy, and I would have died when she dies. That was my
I'm
prayer.
telling you. See, that's what. But see, didn't that Christ, that same Jesus, tell you to enter the kingdom of heaven, you must be as little children?
Yeah.
Yeah. So ain't no learned guy with a big beard or no imam and all these. Ain't none of them getting into heaven according to that, unless
Mm,
you're like a child.
mm.
And you know what I like to see? I know a lot of people are hating on him, but you ever watch Steph Curry play?
Yes,
You ever watch him when he's just practicing and just
it's amazing.
he's
It's
he's
amazing.
he's a child. He
Oh,
like
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yes.
you ever
Very much
watch him?
so.
He's doing
Yes.
crazy things, and he
Yes.
has everybody on the team acting like that.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Mm.
Where is the innocence
Good
in your
example.
in your everyday life that you can
Wow.
recognize someone that is destined for that heaven that they have constructed?
Mm,
Very, very few can actually say that, can stay as a child.
mm,
Man, my son, my son we're into the movies, we're into superheroes, and I've always been that way with him.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
So my youth is I live my youth through my son
mhm.
and my grandson, you
Dope.
know, and
Dope.
and then my wife, we love the movies and certain things that we laugh at together. If you don't have that child life energy, then you're kind. Those are the people who have the Alzheimer's.
Mm,
Those are the people who begin to constrict and block out, who forget that young, loving energy to just love life. Just because I tell people, and you see me arguing and talking all about what it is that's wrong with the society, don't think that I don't maintain my joy, my
mhm,
personal joy, family.
mhm.
Oh, please do not think this, because I want you to achieve yours by
Indeed.
you understanding what it is that you're battling out there. Because a lot of people are sad,
Yeah.
they're angry,
Mhm.
they don't love being themselves. And that's what depression is. Depression is not liking to be with your own thoughts,
Mm,
not liking your own thoughts.
yeah. I know people that got to sleep with the TV on just because they're scared of their thoughts. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's a scary